Chai FM, 101.9 megahertz of life.
And it's so interesting because I have noticed this myself. There was a time when choosing a restaurant meant maybe asking a friend or even taking a chance. Today we read, every review, we compare ratings. We were buying a washing machine last week, and the amount of research, I've never used a washing machine in my life. I became an expert only on the reviews, and I just wonder what this is about, because it's from holidays to, washing machines, air fryers, hotels, coffee machine, what to watch, what to read. I'm very, very into that as well. But have we stopped trusting our own judgment? Have we? I'm not sure. Let's unpack this with a relationship and a life coach, Paula Quinsee. Paula, very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Is it really about online reviews, or is there something deeper going on?
Good morning to you and the listeners. It's a combination of things that are I think, yes, because we live in this fast-paced world where there's so much information coming at us from all directions, that there is a part of us that we have lost the ability to trust ourselves in our own judgment and our own decisions. On the other side of that, it's around, the fear of making the wrong choice or the wrong decision and the repercussions of that is contributing to this at the moment.
In a way, it's also, we can justify it. We can say, I bought that washing machine and it's a dud, but the online reviews were so good. I mean, I wasn't irresponsible, was I?
No, absolutely not. And, I think this is where it's about finding the balance of, yes, you can do your homework and you can do your research, but, ultimately at the end of the day, you are still the one making that decision. So what are the factors that you're using to influence your decision making to a point where you still trust your own judgment and your own sense of value or worth or validation, as opposed to just relying on external factors of validation?
I always tell the story of when we got married and other friends of ours got married many years ago. We had a couple friends, close friends, who needed to find and buy the perfect couch. And that perfect couch was really, really quite hard to find, as a result of which they spent 2 years without a couch. And I always use that story as an anecdote because I sometimes think, and we all do it, they might have done it with a couch, I could do it with something else. But we spend so much of our time seeking perfection that we deny ourselves a place to sit for all of that time. What's that about?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, from a human psyche point of view, especially when it comes to the big things in our lives, so big events or big decisions, we generally turn to the people we trust the most. So our family members, our partners, the people that's opinions we value, right? And so we seek that validation from them to kind of tell ourselves that, yes, I'm making the right choice, I'm making the right decision. And the thing is, the less we practice making these decisions ourselves and the more we rely on other people to make those decisions for us, the more we lose that part of ourselves. It's like a muscle. When you don't use it, it becomes weak, or it doesn't work as effectively as it used to. And so a lot of us have lost touch with ourselves today in terms of making that decision. So when it comes to big things, we turn to the people we care about the most because we want their approval. We seek that approval, that we're making the right decision. But when it comes to, the day-to-day stuff, we've lost it. We're relying so much on external factors these days.
And it's so interesting to think that 500 strangers know what's best for us.
Absolutely. And I think it's because, the world that we live in, where we have instant access to information. You just, tap on an app or tap on a button or pick up a phone and type something in, and immediately you've got ton of information available to you. But how do we know that that information is valid or that it's true or where it's coming from? Because there are so many sources of information. And today, in today's world, there are so many fake things. There are fake profiles. There's fake brands out there. So I think we are relying more and more on the reviews out there to go somewhere and have a good experience, because we don't want to either waste money or waste our time or just have a bad evening or a bad experience.
I know that Barry Schwartz wrote about the paradox of choice. It was quite a few years ago. And it's almost as though, and he writes about the fact that we have too much choice actually makes us less happy. What's your thoughts on that?
That's absolutely true, and there is scientific research behind that. And you'll find it if you go to a restaurant where they have a menu that's 10 pages long, and you spend more time trying to make a decision about what you want versus a menu where there's fewer choices. So the human brain it really works when it comes to fewer choices, and the optimal number is 3, right? And so if you look at websites or landing pages, or you go into certain brands, they have 3 choices: a low, a middle, and a high, because that's what the brain can cope with comfortably, is 3 choices. Any more than that, and you start getting analysis paralysis and overthinking.
I wonder if that's the same on, I mean, I would hate to commoditize people, but I wonder if that's not the same problem on these dating apps. I mean, you don't have reviews there, thankfully. Although that could be fun, or not, I don't know. But it's just an interesting thing, because I'm trying to remember the name of the book as well that I read on this, and they were saying that when you go and meet a person, it's so different to sitting and thinking that you are a stud, scrolling through people's Tinder profiles as though you are a, I don't know, God's gift. But it just changes so much. How do we pull back from this?
So we are actually seeing a trend with dating apps on the decline, particularly paid subscriptions. People are fatigued, swipe fatigue, the digital fatigue, the mental fatigue of constantly being online and trying to, start up a conversation, move the conversation into in-person, going to meet this person and exploring down those paths. And we're definitely seeing a trend with in-person events. So there's a lot of groups out there that are arranging in-person events and experiences for single people, because people are wanting to meet people in real life. They're getting tired of the apps.
Which makes sense. How do we teach our children to have confidence in their own judgment, especially when we are seeking validation all the time from other areas?
I think by helping your children learn critical life skills, of which decision-making and choices and consequences is key. So, age appropriate, get them to make choices, and by helping them understand the pros and the cons of their choices, so that when they make a choice, they understand what the consequences are, or what the benefits are, so that they can weigh that up and they can start making value and the benefit for me, and what am I willing to sacrifice at the same time.
So a final practical question is, what could we do to start regaining control and confidence about when it comes to our own decision making?
I think rely less and less on your devices and learn to tap inwards in terms of trusting your own gut instinct and intuition. Start with small little decisions or choices and work your way up to, as you become more confident, to the bigger decisions in terms of relying on your own gut instinct and intuition.
That is where we leave it. What a great conversation, and so very interesting. Paula Quinsee, relationship and life coach, talking to us about why are we so afraid to decide the psychology of seeking validation in an age of online reviews. Give me your experience. If you are going to buy something, how reliant are you on the reviews? Do you go maybe with a brand that you trust and therefore you don't need to look at all the reviews? Or do you rely on some person that you've never met living in Sri Lanka who, no, but it's true, Mukundi is laughing, but the reality is that that's what we do. We go into these sites and we say, oh, look at the reviews, it came true to size, whatever that was, and it was very comfortable. Well, I don't know what you're used to wearing there in Sri Lanka. Maybe, anyway, that's just my thoughts on it, but I'd love yours.